Greetings, planty people, and welcome back to my jungle. Welcome to a very rainy, summery day. I don't know what's happened to this summertime in England, but the weather has been abysmal. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think rainy days are really relaxing, but not very relaxing when you have to go out and do stuff. It's a little bit And please do excuse my voice. I have caught yet another cold and my asthma is just asthmaing right now. So today's video is about everything I wish I knew as a beginner. So this is basically loads of things I've learned throughout my journey, and I've noticed a few people mention similar things. So this is a video for anyone who's just starting out and they're a little bit overwhelmed and not kind of sure what they want to do. But it's also for any seasoned planty people as well, if you just want some little bits of advice, really. That's what I'm here for. But if you do have any questions, you can always comment down below or message me on Instagram or TikTok, whatever you fancy, whatever you want. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, first one. I learnt this one the hard way. When you first get into plants, there is so much information, so many plants that you don't know the names of. It just gets a bit overwhelming, but in an exciting way. So it's a bit like, oh my gosh, let's go to the supermarket and look at the plant section and just get random stuff without really knowing what they are. I certainly did that. So I think some of the first ones I got were the Monstera ansonii, this one over here. It was a tiny little one from Lidl. It was a little one from Lidl. I also got a Zebrina tradescantia from Asda, so definitely check out supermarkets. But basically what I'm saying is don't go too crazy, because I bought too many plants at the beginning and I got a little bit overwhelmed, mainly because I didn't know what I was doing. And with all this information, I just got a bit overwhelmed and kind of burnt myself out a bit, which led to a few unalived plants basically, and all that information just kind of went right over my head because I had a bit of a sieve brain, because I was just like, oh, so many things to learn, and I was trying to follow all these kind of rules that I'd learned, but I think one of the most important things you need to be able to take care of plants is just use your intuition. If the soil is still wet and the internet told you to water it every 2 weeks or so, just leave it. You don't need to follow any rules. Just pay attention to the plant. You know what I mean? Otherwise, if you water it when it's still damp, that's a one-way ticket to root rot town, and you don't want to go there. And as I was a bit of an overwater at the beginning, because I was just really excited, I did kill quite a few plants from overwatering. So yeah, basically, don't go too crazy. Don't buy too many plants at the beginning. Maybe buy just a few little ones of different types. See how you get along with them. Don't overwhelm yourself. That's my advice. Speaking of overwatering, let's go to the next one. Overwatering versus underwatering. It is so much better for your plant to underwater than overwater, as yes, you may get a few leaves dropping if you've missed a watering and she's very thirsty, but it's a lot more likely to bounce back as the roots are still semi-intact at least, whereas with root rot, that's kind of irreversible, and if you don't catch it in time, it will just rot the whole plant. So if you do find a few squishy roots, chop them off, see how it goes. And I've lost a lot of plants to rot because of this. Like I said, I was a bit of an overwaterer and I've had to kind of like condition myself to just leave that plant alone. You know what I mean? Only water when a plant's completely dry is what I've learned. Well, that's the rule for most plants. And that's the perfect segue to the next point. You will kill a few plants along the way. I still kill one every so often. It's part of it. So don't let it dishearten you, because it's just, it happens. You're not going to be perfect, even if you have all the information in the world. You know what I mean? Sometimes you miss pests, sometimes you miss a water or you overwater, sometimes life gets in the way and you're too busy to notice something. That's totally fine. If anything, I feel like it teaches you a new lesson, so it makes you a better plant parent in the long run. I get a lot of people being really disheartened by it, being like, oh, I'm such a bad plant parent, oh, I'm a plant killer. Don't worry. Like I said, I have all these plants behind me. I know they all look healthy, but I have a big houseplant hospital right in there in a big box of loads of crusty plants that need a bit of TLC. So try not to compare yourself to people with plants on the internet. And if anyone tells you, oh, I can even kill a cactus, Killing a cactus is surprisingly easy. All you have to do is overwater it and it just like becomes a big mushy ball of sadness. Okay, next tip I'm quite passionate about actually. You don't need loads of fancy equipment. Equipment? I said that really weirdly. For example, I see a lot of people on TikTok especially trying to push people to use moisture meters, but I have found you just don't need one. I did think about getting one at the beginning because I was like, oh, okay, I must need all this stuff if everyone's using it. But me being lazy and not wanting to spend money on something was just like, I'm just gonna stick my finger in the soil. If it's wet, leave it alone. And if it feels completely dry and crunchy, that's when you know you need to water it. It's all good. And another way of being able to feel if it's watered is if you pick up the plant. I know it's not always easy to do, especially if you've got like things clipped everywhere. Just if it feels heavy and weighty, there's definitely water in there, so just leave it alone. I just don't think you need one in my opinion. If you have one and you find it helps, totally fine. You do you, boo. I'm just saying from my experience, I don't think they're needed. I just really don't. And that goes again for like light meters and stuff. I understand if you're using it in a professional setting like a plant shop or I don't know, interior designers and stuff. Totally fine. I just don't think you need it. And also to add on to that, you don't really need to get loads of fancy pots because pots can be expensive, especially like the really big ornate ones. Sorry, my phone turned off. Where was I? Pots, yes. You don't need fancy expensive pots because when you have to get a pot for every single plant, that is just expensive. So if you have a plant and you don't want to buy a pot for it yet, especially if it's going to be one that you're going to upsize soon, I would definitely recommend going to like a charity or thrift shop and just looking for some plant pots. I found a few there for like a couple pounds. Bargain. And if you can't find any, look at the weird like plates and stuff because you can just literally put a plant on a plate just so you don't get water everywhere and soil. So that's a little tip for you. And you don't even have to use plant pots. I sometimes use empty hair dye pots, just like poke a little hole through it and use the lid as the dish. I've even used broken mugs, unbroken mugs, like normal ones, literally anything basically. And then you can use empty pickle jars or just jam jars for propagations. As long as they're clean, use anything, get creative. Okay, next one. If you're a bit confused of how to look after a certain plant and you're a little bit overwhelmed with the information and it's just a bit like, I would strongly recommend researching how it grows in the wild and what kind of temperature, humidity it is, and if you try and replicate that as best as you can, you'll have a lot of success. For example, a lot of plants grow up trees, monstera, a lot of climbing philodendron do. So if you give them a trellis or a moss pole, even better, you will get much bigger leaves and it'll be a much happier plant. I did this for my philodendron micans and the leaves are twice the size as they would normally be if it would just be draping down somewhere. I mean, it's totally fine if you want something to drape down, does look cute, but if you want bigger leaves, get a moss pole. Okay, last but not least, this one, I wish I knew from the start. And you will probably encounter pests at some point, so that includes spider mites, thrips, mealybugs, scale. Thrips are the worst because they lay their eggs in the flesh of your plant and they're really hard to remove. So if you have noticed thrip damage, you'll see kind of like dappled lighter marks on your plant. I would get a really good bug spray, and if you can't find a good one, just get some really good antibacterial or just like dish soap. A few drops in a water bottle sprayer thing, completely spray the house down. Wait a little bit, give it a shower, like completely like under the leaves. Just please look under the leaves because that's where they like to hide. So completely blitz it, and then I would completely spray it again. And then that should get rid of it mostly. I'd maybe do this a few times and maybe even change the soil as well because sometimes they hide in there. Spider mites are easier to get rid of. Still a little bit annoying though. I would just do basically exactly the same. Mealybugs, they're annoying but nowhere near as bad as the other two. They kind of have like this white fluff and they look like tiny little isopods. They're weirdly cute. I know that's a bit of a weird opinion, but you can literally just kill them with some alcohol spray or just blast them in the shower, whatever you fancy. They tend to like to hide in plants with crevices, so pay attention to that. And spider mites, I found, love anything velvety, which is a problem because a lot of my plants are velvety, so I've always got bug spray on the ready. And it is wise as well, even if you don't find any pests, just to give your plant a good shower or wipe down every so often, and even just a good spray of bug spray, just to be preventative. And you can also get beneficial mites, where you literally just hang it on and they slowly kind of crawl out. You can't see them, don't worry, they're not weird or gross, and they gradually just kind of keep on top of if you do have any secret pests and they eat them. They're your friends, trust me. Look into it. Okay, I think that's it for now. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if I can think of any other ones. I'll leave all my social medias down below. If you've got any questions or you just want a little planty chat, feel free. You can talk to me on Instagram, TikTok, here, whatever you fancy. Anyway, hope you have a lovely day, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.